Hi juniors, in this video we're going to talk about how to create a resume using Naviance to do that. Now this resume can be used next year in the fall when you're applying to colleges. You would need to send it to those colleges because even though it's on Naviance, it will not go out with anything that Kellenberg sends out for your applications. So let's first get started, and the first thing you want to do is go to the Kellenberg website so that you can log on to Naviance. So you go to the college placement page. You look for, down on that page, this button right here that says Naviance Login. When you click on that, you can put in your personal information to get onto your account, and then it will take you to your home page, which looks like this. So on this home page, we're going to focus on that top corner where it has the 3 bars, okay? That's where you can get to things like colleges when you're doing stuff in the fall. But we can also click on this to get started on our resume. So when you click on that, what you get is something that looks like this. So on that home page, now on this page, a lot of times you'd be using the colleges tab, but we're going to focus today on the one that says About Me. You want to click on that, and then when it expands, you want to click on the one that says About Me Home, and that will take you to a page that looks like this. This screen here. And on this page, underneath your name, you'll notice it has 4 things. What we want to focus on is the one that says Resume. When you click on Resume, it's going to open up a page that looks like this. Now, on this page, you probably will not have anything here. I've already done some resumes, so you can see that I have work experience, education, stuff like that. And you'll notice that there are 2 options up top here. Those are the 2 things we're going to be using to help us create the resume. So we're going to focus a lot on this first one here to add or update sections. And how we can add sections is by pressing on this plus sign right here, and it will give you all the options. So once you press on that, you'll get a screen that looks like the following. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of stuff listed over here that you can fill out. Things that we definitely want to focus on: work experience. For education, we would just want to include high school, okay? And just in general, what you're including on this resume is what you've done in high school. The one exception to that would be if you have something, for example, like Boy Scouts, that you've been doing since you were in 6th grade or something like that, then that one you would want to include all the years you've done it, but we're really focusing on high school activities. So if you have something that you just did when you were in 5th grade, we're not going to be putting it on this resume, okay? So it's definitely high school stuff. You can include years before if you have been doing that thing since before you entered high school and you've continued with it during high school, okay? We're also going to focus on volunteer work, any community service you have, extracurricular activities. Now that would include everything but sports, okay? And also music has another place you can put it. So that would be more like GSO or newspaper, different activities like that. Awards and certificates we can use for things like National Honor Society, Honor Roll, and also if you've gotten any awards through your sports, like did you get MVP or MIP or something like that. You would definitely want to put in music achievement if you play an instrument or if you do band or chorus or orchestra. Athletic achievement would be the section where you would want to put things like, any JV or varsity sports that you've had at Kellenberg, or if you've played any sports for teams outside of Kellenberg. And then definitely leadership if you have anything like junior retreat staff. Even if you weren't able to run retreats this year, you still would want to include any sort of leadership positions that you've been named to. So let's go on to our next screen here, and what this is I clicked on work experience from that previous screen. And so as different stuff comes up, and what you want to do is fill out definitely anything that has a star next to it, but the more information you give, the better. So you really want to take your time on this and really go through everything that you've done, okay? Don't be afraid to that you're bragging too much. This is the place to do it, and you really want to try to think about anything that you've done that would be either service or leadership, even if it's not like, oh, you're a president of a club. Leadership could be that you run the drills at your practices for your sports team, or maybe you do something at your job that would be a leadership kind of quality. Okay, so you really want to try to think of, do I have any leadership? Do I have anything that exhibits intellectual curiosity? Do I have any service kind of aspects? And you want to be as thorough as possible. So if we were putting in work experience, let's say you were a cashier at King Cullen or something, you'd want to type in cashier. Okay, I can't type because this is just a screenshot, but you could definitely type in something like that. Let's say you worked at King Cullen, you put that, you type that in this spot here. Location, let's say you work at the one in Rockville Center. Okay, so you put that down. And then for start date, whenever you started that job, you want to put that down. For end date, usually you would do to present. There will also be options where you can put what grades you've competed in and where you can also give explanations or descriptions. With the descriptions, so for example, if you were a cashier but you were responsible for closing up the store at night, I would put that in. That's a leadership kind of quality, even though you're not specifically named a leadership position for that. So really try to think about any responsibilities you've had and really expand on things. In particular, if you have any activities like SMART or SALT, where no one outside of Kellenberg knows what that means, you want to be really, really descriptive for those activities in describing what you do. So for example, if you do SMART, right, what grades do you work with? Do you tutor the kids? Do you just run activities with them? What sorts of things are you doing each day that you volunteer with SMART? Be really descriptive so that when someone looks at it and they're like, what is this SMART thing? They know exactly what you've been doing. Let's go on to our next slide. So you'll see here that we're back at our slide. So you keep just pressing on this anytime that you want to add a new activity. And we're going to go in a moment over different things that you should think about and stuff that should be included. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to also focus on this right here, okay? So once you put everything in on your resume, you're going to want to click on that. And that will take you to a screen that looks like the following. Now on this page, you would not have any saved resumes like I have because you haven't created one yet. So how we can save a resume is we press on the plus sign here because we want to add one to save. And that will take you to a screen that looks like the following. Now on this screen, you want to name your resume, so you could call it something like first resume or something like that. You would be able to type in that spot. And you can pick whichever one of the default templates you think looks the best. So let's say I choose default template number 1. Once I choose that and type in a name, I can click on continue, and then I'm brought to the following. Now on this page, you actually have to check off everything. So you're going to want to go to these spots here and make sure you click off on everything that you've entered in so that it does put all of those things on your resume. If there's anything you put down that you don't want to include, then you can just uncheck it, but pretty much anything that you put down, I think you would want to include. So you check off all those boxes. That will take you then towards the bottom here. After you've checked everything off, you can see that I have all of my stuff checked off here. Click on Save Resume, and you will be able to find that resume on that page. Now, download a PDF is going to be most useful for both you submitting it to your English class, but also if you want to include it and send it with a college application in the fall. If you're having trouble doing that on the iPad, I would say best place to do that is really on a computer. If you just log on to Naviance on your computer, go to your About Me page, and then find your saved resumes. I think that's the easiest way to then send that out to wherever you need it to be. You also would have the option, if you ever needed to, let's say, print it for a scholarship or something like that. If you download the PDF on your computer, you can then pull that open and then print that out on your computer, okay? So that part I would suggest maybe not doing on your iPad because it's a little bit hard on the iPad to do that. After you do everything else on your iPad, just go to your computer and then click on this right here, and then you can access your resume that way. So let's talk a little bit more about what you want to include on your resume. And in your English class, you would have gotten 2 things. One of them is a sample resume, just to give you an idea of how to maybe describe things. Like I put down someone who was in SMART and on junior retreat staff and earned MVP for a sport. They also were in chorus and were on a team. So if you're on a team, you might want to include what events you compete in or what position you play, things like that. But what would be really important is for you to have out this writing your activities resume kind of brainstorming sheet, because this is to give you an idea of things that you would want to include and what to think about, because maybe you're not really sure where to even start. Okay, so things to keep in mind. First of all, be truthful, but don't be afraid to sell yourself. This is not the place to be humble. No one outside of Kellenberg knows what SALT or SMART or Aquinas League or things like that are. So you need to fully describe those activities that are not obvious from their names. You should include only information from your high school years, but remember, if you are in something like Boy Scouts where you were in it before you started high school and you've continued with it, that you can include. But if you just did something in the 7th grade, this is not the place to be putting it. What should you include? Honors and awards you've won, sports you have played, both inside and outside of Kellenberg, extracurricular activities, again, both inside and outside of Kellenberg, any service that you've done, whether through Kellenberg or outside of Kellenberg, leadership positions you've held in any place that you've had an activity, and also after school and summer jobs. Those are really important if you have any jobs. That is considered something that is really important for colleges. They do like to see people who are working, and if you only work and don't have extracurricular activities, they understand that sometimes people can only work a job. Okay, so definitely include those. To help you brainstorm, definitely go through the questions. So I'm not going to go through everything with you because you do have the sheet, but for example, for awards, are you in National Honor Society? Did you make the honor roll? Did you have perfect attendance any years? Awards from outside of Kellenberg, any athletic awards like MVP, MIP, commitment. For sports, how much time did you spend practicing and competing? Make sure that that's there, especially if your team doesn't just have like a regular practice, but does like extra weightlifting or watches video to prepare for the next match or something, or game. Make sure that your time commitment is obvious from what you put in that section. Did you do extra practice like weight training? What position do you play? Events do you compete in? Have you been a team captain or led the team in some way? Remember, leading the team can be something like running warm-up stretches or leading the team in prayer before games or meets. Is there any recognition for your athletic ability, like All-League, All-State, or All-American status? Then we have for activities, right? Make sure you include time commitment and responsibilities. As long as the total time matches your total time commitment, sometimes it's hard to do how many days a week you do it. So for example, for SALT, right? You don't do that every week. So make sure that total number of hours actually represents your total number of hours of service that you've had. Explain what the club does, especially if that's not obvious from the name. Have you had any leadership positions? Have you gone above and beyond in any way? So for example, if you were in Cross and you wrote a reflection that went on the school website, or if you taped something for morning announcements for Language Week for your language club, okay, include that. And then you also have some questions for service, leadership, and jobs. So definitely go through this and use this to help you figure out what would be important to put on your resume. And as I said, you will be getting also a sample resume so you can see how things might be worded and use that as an example to help you out. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask your English teacher, or you can reach out to your college placement counselor and we're happy to help you out. So remember, you want to do a good job on this because you can then just update it in the fall for anything you do senior year and then send it out with your applications. So it can really help you to put things down on paper right now to make it a little bit easier when you're applying to colleges in the fall. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you have a wonderful day.